for the first in our little mini series. These are following on from our guild conference that we had earlier in the year in February. All of these companies that are going to be presenting were part of the guild conference and sponsored and supported us in February. So we wanted to give them the opportunity to speak to you all. So thank you for joining us. We're joined by Develop Training and Saint-Gobain. We have Emma and Nicola that will be hosting the presentations. So again, if we can ask everybody to make sure their computers are switched off. No, I don't want you to switch off your computers. That would be bad. If you can switch off your cameras and mute your microphones. If you do have any questions that you'd like to ask either of the companies, if you can add them into the chat function. After each presentation, there'll be a chance for you to have your questions answered. Without me gabbling on too much, we will then hand over to Emma.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kate, and thank you for the opportunity this morning to present. My name is Emma Burtonshaw. I'm the Regional Sales Manager for Saint-Gobain PAM, and this morning I'm just going to be doing a brief presentation for you with regards to solutions for the more complex pipe applications and the solutions that we often offer for that. So we are Saint-Gobain PAM. You know, many of you will probably are aware of us already. We are a global ductile iron pipes and fittings supplier to the water utility markets, the wastewater markets, industrial and public markets, and also your private markets as well, when it comes to things like hydros and fire mains and things like that. So often when we come to looking at projects with contractors and clients, we're often met with more complex situations where there's a lot of restrictions in place, and it could be hard to install pipelines as planned. There might be services in the way that are preventing you from doing that. Often we have a solution which is our universal VE joint that we bring to those more complex projects. So I'm just going to talk to you a bit about this universal VE joint this morning and talk you through how it works, what sort of applications it's being adopted into as well. So it's a push-fit anchoring system, and it's an internal anchoring system as well. So you've not got anything externally outside of the joint either. It comprises of a locking ring and well bead system, and together the locking ring and well bead forms the anchor within the joint. It's a boltless system, so as I just said, there's no external factors outside of the joint. It's all contained within the socket and the spigot, so there's no torquing up required, and there's also no external wrapping required either. We manufacture this joint from DN80 right up to DN1600. So again, it covers quite a wide variety of diameters. So, you know, normally in most of your applications, we're able to offer a system like this. We offer it to both potable and wastewater applications, so both to EN 545 and EN 598 standard. It negates the requirement for concrete thrust blocks because the anchor system is a self-restrained system. It's designed to take up those axial forces within the pipeline. So, you know, you no longer need to put in concrete thrust blocks within the pipeline with this system because it's already restrained. So again, it's a cost saving, it's a carbon saving, but also it's quicker for installation as well because you're not having to wait for concrete to cure to test the pipeline and commission it. And we offer the pipeline in up 6 to 8 meter lengths depending on your diameter. It's a flexible joint, so what that does, it allows for any ground settlement and movement, so it doesn't impose any bending movements on the joint. It's capable of higher PFAs as well. So, you know, you can see in this column to the right-hand side here, we range right from 100 bar on the smaller diameters down to 16 bar on the larger diameters as well. It's a joint that can be disassembled if required. So if you do need to take the joint apart to reinstall it, you know, if it's being pushed home on an angle and it needs to be pushed home a little bit more straighter, you can actually take the joint apart and reinsert it. And we say it's got 100+ years design life. That's based on the fact if it's designed, installed correctly, and it's got the correct external protection on to correlate with the ground conditions on site. Also, just going back to the flexible joint there, there is an allowable tolerance of angular deflection with this joint. As you can see in the right-hand column here, it gives you the maximum allowable tolerances for each diameter. So if when you have pushed the joint home and you do require a little bit of deflection, you have got a tolerance there to work with as well. And when it comes to applications, we offer this system within varied applications around the industry. It's often seen in tunnel and ducting applications. So because it's a self-anchoring system, it allows the pipes to be pulled along the tunnel by a push-pull system. So you often have a winch at one end of the tunnel and you have the excavator at the other. So you're pushing in on entry and you're pulling with the winch at the other end. And the anchoring system allows it to do that, obviously, so it doesn't come apart going through the tunnel. And we also use the pipe as supported on spiders as well, which helps it to move through the tunnel. Also, in this application, a lot of projects do come across restrictions where they're quite limited to the length of pipe that can get down the shaft before they go through a tunnel. So this system allows you to lower shorter lengths of pipe down the shaft before installing it through the tunnel. And it allows you to do a bit of a install and pull method on the installation side as well. And just to add to that, this system, you can actually have it in bespoke lengths as well. So if you need a 3-meter pipe, that's an anchor joint, that, you know, it's got its capabilities to do that as well. We also, it's also suitable for hydropower schemes, hydroelectricity, and can be installed on a gradient, but there is a tolerance on that gradient as well, just to bear that in mind. We've got highways and congested areas. So if you've got a project where you've got minimum trench widths to work with, or if you've got varied services in the way, and also you don't want to be putting thrust blocks in, if there is varied services in the way as well, then again, it's suitable for those applications. And again, pumping station treatment works. If you've got a lot of different pipe work in close proximity, it works in that situation as well. And again, if you do have to consider any negative pressures on pumping stations and things like that, the system is suitable for that as well. So just to show you a bit closer of how the joint is actually formed itself. So as mentioned in the previous couple of slides, it's made up of a locking ring and well bead system. Now working them together, that forms the engagement of the joint and anchors the joint together. So as you can see, it's a 2-chambered socket. We've got a sealing chamber in the rear chamber there, which obviously forms your watertight seal for the joint. And in the initial chamber is the chamber for the locking ring. So the locking ring sits in this chamber before offering up the spigot end with the well bead on. Now, before we do that, the assembly clips, which are shown here, that just holds the locking ring open, ready for spigot insertion. Because obviously you don't want the locking ring to drop around the spigot before you insert it. And as you can see on the picture on the right hand side, you can see a spigot end here with a well bead on the end of the spigot here. So that well bead is what forms with the locking ring. So once the spigot is offered up to the socket, we remove the assembly clips. That allows the locking ring to encapsulate around the spigot end, and then you can allow the pipe to be pushed home. The locking ring will come over the well bead, and then you can engage the pipe, and the joint is complete. I'm just going to show you a video. This gives, in addition to me just telling you how the joint is formed, this video will show you how the joint is built together. So on the larger diameters, the locking ring requires assembly. On diameters up to 700 mil, the locking ring is one complete unit. Above 800 mil and above is where you have to assemble the locking rings. But what's good about this is that you can build the locking ring up, before you even start installing pipe work. So you can build the locking ring up in a clean environment before the pipe goes in the trench. So it's all being done in a clean environment. And it also allows quicker installation again by being able to do this. So that's just the gasket going in there to the sealing chamber in the rear. You've then got the locking ring coming into that initial first chamber. We then use the assembly clips to hold the locking ring in place. It's just ideal to place the assembly clips in thirds around the locking ring, because that just allows even distribution when you're trying to pull the locking ring in place within the socket. So once that's all done, we're ready with the spigot with the well bead on. So we offer it up to the socket. We can then remove the assembly clips. And then we can push the pipe home to engage the locking ring and well bead and make sure it's compressed with a gasket. So I do hope that's explained how the joint is put together a little bit better. And in addition, just to illustrate, we're also adding our value creation and these sorts of systems into our AutoCAD Revit 3D modelling. So I'm just going to play you a quick demonstration of the AutoCAD Revit with the universal joint. So again, that's just a demonstration of the universal system being incorporated into our Revit 3D modelling catalogues. I've then got just a couple of case studies that I'd like to share with you. It helps to talk about a little bit more about the benefits, the real facts behind using a system such as this. So we're basing this on a project that is currently being undertaken. A lot of value engineering was involved on this project. Initially, it's an 11-kilometre pipeline. It's DN 900 universal VE. So again, the system that we're talking about. It's a 70% urban environment with 30% rural environment. That includes 300 metres under a highway and under a railway as well through a tunnel. And by adopting this system, the client has signed off a range of benefits, and these figures I'm about to show you here are the client's figures. They're not something that came from us. So it comes with a range of health and safety benefits. By adopting the system and it being a push-fit system, again without any external external installation or wrapping required, it resulted in over 8,000 hours being removed out of the trench. So again, putting the installer's safety first in the project. The project time was reduced by over 1,000 days. Again, because you're cutting down the installation time, it resulted in a significant reduction in installation days for the project. Because it's a boltless system, this meant that 65,000 bolts were removed from installation. Now, again, by doing that, you're reducing time, you're reducing cost out of the project again. And because our universal pipe at 900 mil diameter is a 7 meter pipe, so this meant that less joints were required on the pipeline, 467 less joints. Again, that means a reduction in men being in the trench, less joints to install, it cut down time and it cut down cost as well. And when we're talking about removal of concrete thrust blocks, there is a significant carbon reduction by doing this. It's on this specific project, it saved 5,600 tons of concrete thrust blocks. So again, that's a significant carbon saving, significant cost saving to the project. It also meant that there was no concrete trucks in and around the site or in the area. So again, saving carbon once again, and like I said, a time saving for installation. So across the whole project, there was a carbon saving of 1,600 tons, which I think is quite significant. And just to finish, I just want to play you one last case study video. This is a case study of a project we did a few years ago up in Keswick. And this is a tunnel application. So again, pipes being pulled through ducting.
This is a major pipeline project in Cumbria on behalf of United Utilities. And one aspect is to cross the River Greta with a twin 800 mil pipeline. The contractor Ward & Burke has installed a concrete tunnel that's approximately 2.4 metres inside diameter. Into that tunnel, they're inserting our 800 mil universal VE pipes. It's a twin pipeline, so each pipe staggered slightly and laid on spiders, and then a winch pulls the pipe through the 285 metre tunnel. This is the 800 mil universal VE pipe, so its ability to withstand thrust and remove concrete thrust blocks is one aspect of its capability, but the other interesting aspect is the opportunity to pull the pipe through tunnels. Because the joint is anchored internally with a metal locking ring, there are no external bolts, which obviously increase the diameter of the pipe. So being a relatively small profile, it means the pipe can be pulled through smaller tunnels more easily. So the main pipeline is being laid using traditional open cut methods, but as they approach Greta, there's a need to cross the River Greta with as little as disruption as possible, hence the need for a pipe jack tunnel and the twin 800 mil pipe pulled through it.
So thank you all for watching and listening to my presentation. I hope I explained everything okay and in enough detail, but if you do have any questions, please let us know and we will answer them as best we can. Thank you.
Hi Emma, this is Catherine from Guild HQ. So we've had a couple of questions through the chat function.
Yep.
The first one is from Paul Russell. What is your position regarding site-applied weld beads as opposed to weld beads applied at your manufacturing premises?
Well, regarding that, I'm sure Phil can help me answer this one. We would prefer weld beads to be applied at our site, in our manufacturing plant at Ilkeston. And again, it's going back to the health and safety benefits, really. If taking hot works away from site, and again, doing it in a dry environment at the stock ground. I don't know, Phil, have you got any more comments regarding that as well?
Yes, Emma. Morning all. My name's Phil Green, by the way. I'm head of the technical function at Saint-Gobain, and I'm here just to support Emma on some of the questions. So thanks for the question, Paul. Basically, you can site apply weld beads. There's a process whereby you can do that. You can use a copper guide ring and eutectic alloy welding rods to apply the weld bead on site. There's a procedure and there's a profile required for that weld bead. So it can be done, and it has been done. And there's nothing to stop that happening on site. But as Emma said, from a manufacturing perspective, we'd generally prefer it if we were given a dimension of a specific pipe length as a makeup piece, so we can do it in the factory. That way you get that level of factory consistency in the process. Where you can't do that, where you have to cut things because you didn't know things were going to be there on site, as I say, there's a site procedure that enables you to do that, and as long as you follow that procedure correctly and get the right profile on the weld bead, then it's perfectly acceptable to do it on site.
And just in addition to what Phil's just mentioned there, in normal circumstances, when we are looking at projects and designing pipelines at early stages, we factor in if there's going to be any potential services, or if the engineers and clients aren't too sure what the length is going to be or what they're going to come across. We do factor that into the project timeline as well to work with the site. So when they come to that installation point, we have it already scheduled in to manufacture that pipe and cut it down if it needs to be cut down and apply the weld bead. So we're not impacting the project schedule.
Okay, well, I hope that answers your question, Paul. So the next question is from David Windsor. How difficult would it be to take the pipes apart if required later?
So to take the joint apart, so as you could see on the slides and video, you had assembly clips. Along with that, we do supply disassembly wedges when we supply the pipe as well. So again, you pop those wedges in, which opens up the locking ring, and then that allows you to pull the spigot out of the socket.
Okay.
So basically, again, as Emma said, there's a procedure for that. They're dismantling shims with an anvil. You put the shims under the locking ring, and basically you reverse the process. You have to loosen the anchorage of the joint, if you like. You have to push the spigot in slightly to enable you to lift the locking ring back over the weld bead. But there's a process whereby you can do that, and it's a reverse process of the installation guide. There is a video of that as well, but I'm sure you wouldn't want to sit for 10 minutes watching that video. But we can, if people are interested, we can certainly share that and send more information just to illustrate the point that it is an easy assembly and an easy disassembly as well.
That's great, thanks, Phil. And one last question from Stephen McDuff. What do you use to push pipes home into socket?
There's a few methods that projects tend to undertake, depending on the installation itself. Often there's a chain pull method to get the pipeline started. Depending on the parameters around that. Often site use excavators with something like a concrete block or something that protects the socket at the end of the pipeline, and to allow it to be pushed home. But I don't know if you've got any more comments with regards to the installation methods.
Yeah, I mean, this, as Emma's just touched on, traditional method for installing push fit systems is to for a contractor on site to use a digger bucket with timbers on the end of the spigot to push against the timber. If you want to be more controlled, which you perhaps need to be sometimes, then you can use turfers, which are basically ratchet pull straps, and depending on the size of the pipe, depends on the number of turfers you need as a ratchet pull. And when you've got the ratchet pull straps, these enable you to control the jointing more effectively, so you don't bash the pipe home. You can use the ratchet straps to pull the pipe home, and you can inch it in to the correct insertion point. So we generally prefer that people use turfers. It's a more controlled process, but again, if you speak to contractors, they will have different methods that they also use on site. And again, we've got lots of information on that. If people are interested, we can give examples or talk about the different solutions or different constraints that you might have, and then propose what the best outcome might be for that constraint.
That's great. Thanks, Emma and Phil. I think we're going to be moving on to the next presenter now. So if anybody's got any extra questions that we haven't managed to cover, Emma and Phil's contact details are on the screen, or you can get hold of them via us at Guild HQ. So we'll leave that there and move on to the next presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Thanks, Emma. Thank you, Phil. Great presentation. Knew you'd smashed, so thank you for taking part of that. We wanted to now hand over to develop training. We hand over to Nicola Kitchen, who's the key account manager of develop training, so over to you guys.
Great, thank you. So good morning, everybody. I'm the key account manager for Develop. So I look after a large base of our utilities customers across a wide range of gas, water and power. And we've got Andy Holmes with us, who is going to continue on the slides after I've done this introduction. Andy works in our business risk assurance side of the business, but actually he was the key driver behind the programme that we're going to talk about. And we've got Daryl with us, who manages the training from an operational side for utilities. So we just wanted to really give you an overview of the programme that we've run, which is the Women in Utilities programme, and talk you through kind of why we started the programme, what were the key drivers behind it, what the programme entailed itself, what the outcomes that we've had from the programme have been over the last sort of 12 months, and then the next steps, and we're going to look to launch a similar programme again this year. So that's kind of a quick whistle stop introductions to who we are, but I'll let Andy talk you through exactly that, why we started the programme, and what exactly we were hoping to achieve from it.
Okay, good morning, everybody. You should be seeing the slides there, Women in Utilities programme. Just looking at the Women in Utilities programme and why we actually went down this route, and what were the drivers for change. Well, Develop, we're a relatively large company delivering training in the utilities sector. There's a moral driver for change, in that we know that there's an imbalance in the sector, particularly in practical roles. I was looking back at some of our training the other day. We over the last 5 years, 2,400 odd people have come through network construction operations in gas, mains and service lane. Only around 5 of those were women. So it gives you an indication as to how the sector is imbalanced. For us, there's a regulatory driver. We're Ofsted inspected. We deliver apprenticeships, and Ofsted have what comes with government funding is an expectation that you will deliver above and beyond what should be there for equality and diversity. And to get good scores in regulatory inspection, you have to be doing something over and above the average. And there's an altruistic driver as well, a decision within the business to actually make a difference. And it doesn't always come easy, and there's a lot of reasons why you may think not to deliver a program like this, and you have to actually overcome that within your own business to deliver a program similar to this. So the program overview, what do we hope to achieve from it? Well, we decided right at the very beginning that we'd set out some very clear objectives. And what we wanted to do from this programme was to provide, in our case, eight women on the first programme with access to training, mentoring and peer support to help advance their careers. This programme, first and foremost, had to be about those 8 ladies that came on the course. It was to deliver training that was either directly related to their careers or would enhance their wider understanding of industry and or build relevant practical skills. It was first and foremost all about them. The second part of this was to actually develop more role models, to do so properly and to do so for the right reasons, with the consent of the people on the programme, and doing it in ways in which they felt comfortable. So a big part of the beginning of the programme was to actually decide how we were actually going to take this forward in the future and how individuals wanted to take it forward. And the third thing was for us to be a thought leader in this area. We've got equality and diversity commitments, we've got policies, we've got programmes within the business, particularly for regulatory reasons for Ofsted inspection, but to actually live something a bit more committed within the business that would be a focal point within our business as much for other people. So this was back in autumn 2019. We had around 50 nominations from the original marketing that we put out there. We selected 8 candidates, and what we said was we'd put together 15 days of complementary training, and they came from a range of different employers. There were some that had just started their careers, there were some that had been in their careers a while, and they came from different disciplines too. And what we did, we got the 8 women together on the first 2 days. We wanted to get everybody together so that they could spend 2 days together. We wanted to get everybody in one place so that they could spend a little bit of time together outside of work as well. We put together 2 days worth of training, some of which was drawn from our management development training. We were looking at career development and goal setting. We had a little bit on mental resilience. We had a session on being able to market yourself and a sense of your own brand. We had a discussion. Somebody came in from one of the utilities companies who was a strong role model, and we had a frank and open discussion as to what a role model is, what the pros can be, what the cons can be, of being rolled out at maybe every opportunity when an employer wants a role model to put on marketing materials and whatever have you. Again, we wanted to do this in the right way. It had to be with the consent of the individuals and to drive it in a way that they felt comfortable with. We also did an appreciation of the technical training that was available. How we were going to work this was that we would infill people onto our existing courses. We run courses in just about everything utilities based, confined space training, network construction operations, water, gas, etc., etc. We could infill people onto those existing courses, so really there was a leap of faith to be taken at the outset, because we didn't have anybody that we could point to as having done this programme before. In terms of saying to the women on the programme, we can infill you onto just about anything that we deliver, and it doesn't have to be something that's going to advance your career particularly there. It could be something that will advance your skills, knowledge and behaviours to help you deal with wider development in your own careers. So that was the programme. Annie, as you see there, doing sort of limited meter scope, and we've got Charlotte and on sort of wider utilities as well. Annie's been perhaps a success from the first programme. Annie was a person that was an administrator, Northern Gas Networks, and wanted to get into the operational side of the business, and was already undertaking some of her own commitment and drive towards getting an operational role, going out with colleagues to actually look at some of the operational procedures, so that she could get her own experience. But she came on a meter connection course, And it really sort of helped her show that this is something that she wanted to do. She put herself forward for it. The opportunity then came up to get promotion onto an operational site within Northern Gas Networks, and hopefully, we've had a little bit of a part in helping her to get that role. Certainly, what we will be doing is we'll be supporting her in the training that she does need now, because that's going to be an awful lot more of health and safety related, managing contractors on site. We're currently running a first of one of the IOSH variants of the courses on sort of managing construction sites and the issues that come with that. So Annie's been one of the first people through that as well. So as Annie said there, we need to squash these sort of male-female stereotypes. It is daunting, but it's not like it used to be. And if you like develop, we're trying to do something about it. We're trying to do something that is altruistic. It is something you have to work at. It is something where you have to take a leap of faith. And it is something that you have to convince your colleagues that it is the thing to do when you don't actually perhaps see the benefits on the balance sheet. It is something that you'll see wider within the business regards, wider equality and diversity issues, and putting that first and foremost in your business. So that's our programme. I'm going to hand you back to Nicola, as we have more things pending. So I'll let Nicola take that forward.
Lovely, thanks, Andy. So I sat in on those first couple of days with on the induction programme, and some of the things that we went through with the girls, and had the really open and frank conversations about their job role, the sort of barriers and challenges that they face, and then supporting them with some influencing techniques, some mental resilience, and their own personal development plan. And they formed really good, strong bonds and networks as well. And I know they've kept in touch over the months about what courses they're going to take, how that will align to their job roles, and what career opportunities that they've had. And they've sort of supported each other through that. Those key people like Annie will then be the ambassadors and the mentors for the next programme that we're going to run this year. So from the 1st of April, via our website again, we'll be taking nominations. There's a nomination form on there which gives you some key criteria. It's quite broad on who you can nominate for the programme. So what we'll be doing is from the 1st of April, putting that nomination page out there to look to select and finalise nominations by July, to start again in September. So if you've got anything you want to ask before that page goes live on the 1st of April, my contact is on screen. If you want to nominate anyone before the 1st of April, I can send you something over on email. But alternatively, if there's anyone you've got in mind that you think could benefit from some complementary training from Develop that could support their career path, then obviously get in touch with us. And that was it really. And thanks for your time.
Thank you, Andy and Nicola. We haven't actually had any questions posted. I don't know if anybody's got anything they'd like to ask the presenters.
Okay.
Speak now.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, obviously it's not a technical, so if people haven't got questions, that's fine. But like I say, if it's something that they're interested in, or they've got anybody in mind, or it's themselves, then they can obviously get somebody to nominate them. So feel free, if anything, if you've got any questions after this, again, just contact me directly. That's absolutely fine.
Okay, well, back to Kate and to finish off the session.
Lovely.
Hi there. Thank you to Develop and Saint-Gobain for taking part in today, and thank you for everybody that's attended today's session. Whilst I have your undivided attention, I just wanted to let you know we've got a number of webinars that are coming up with the Guild. We've got the Utilities panel on the 18th of March about flanged joints in water mains. We have actually Phil Green, who took part in answering some of the questions for Saint-Gobain. He'll be taking part. We've got speakers also from GPSP, Pipe Systems, Control Point and Atkins, and that's on the 18th of March. We then have the next in our Meet Our Sponsors series, similar to this. That takes place on the 23rd of March, and that's with Radius Systems and Amy Blue. So if you want to take part in that, just go forward to the Guild website, pipeguild.com, and then you look on the events section and then you can register. So again, thank you to everybody for joining us today, and we hope to see you in the next event. Thank you.